Hello, everybody. Pete the Planner here. The show has started. It's good to be with you. It's another week of the Pete the Planner radio experience right here on the Pete the Planner Radio Network. Joining me, as always, is Damian Dunn and Kristen Elanius. Hello, people.
Hello, Pete.
Can you guys talk for a second so I can fix some settings on our show here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Kristen, how are things going up in your neck of the woods?
Things are good. I turned on my ring light. I'm actually using it now. Go me. I know.
Who is that? A Def Leppard album behind you on your shelf?
Yeah, it is.
Is that an iPad above it?
No, it's a letterboard. The letterboard just doesn't say anything.
That's right. You've had a couple pithy comments on those boards in the past, reminding us to do stuff.
Yeah, well, I dialed it back and just eliminated the words.
All right, guys, it is quite possible that the show does not record how I want it to today.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine if that happened?
Ooh. So which part doesn't record?
I don't know. I guess we're about to find out. We're about to do a whole show that may not work. This is exciting. Rick Swink joins us. Andy, Jason, J.O. Hello, everybody. Dame, you look concerned. I'm dismissive of the challenge.
I'm concerned.
What, do you want to restart?
This your call, man. You're the one that's that answers to the producer.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're going with it, which is
all right.
Be a great regret. Hi, Chris. Hello, Rochelle. Kristen, big week for you.
Is it?
Can you share the news?
What did I do?
With all of us?
Please, Kristen.
Please share it with all of us.
Okay, I don't know if this is a setup, but I do have a dishwasher now. It's been like 4 months, so that's pretty cool. I've been hand washing my dishes.
Excellent. That's it. Okay, so here's what we're doing on the show today. We're going to talk arms. We are going to talk car leases, and we are going to talk No Spend November. Is that what it's called?
No Spend November?
Yeah. No Spend November. Yeah.
No Spend November. Okay. Those are the things we're doing today. Upon the conclusion of the show today, after a few other things, I'm driving to Nashville, Tennessee, so my 10-year-old can play soccer against other 10-year-olds, because as you know, there are no 10-year-olds in Indiana and or Kentucky, so we've got to go all the way to Tennessee to kick it with that crew. Yeah, that'll be good. Speaking of youth sports, shout out to Coach Eric. My daughter's one of her gymnastics coaches. I don't know. I just felt like shouting out Coach Eric. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I don't know if he
listens.
Does he listen? Just like I don't know. I'm out of my mind today. Okay. So anyway, here we go. Do you guys have any random shout outs?
No.
My third grade teacher, Mike Hummer, a fantastic person, lives in Missouri, I believe now, has no idea that I do this show. So,
dude, did they name his son H2?
Yeah. Yeah, and
anybody?
H3. Yeah, H3 was the
Here's to hoping you can't hear the leaf blower in the background.
No, can't hear it right now.
Crisp is doing its job. Okay.
All right, in 3, 2, I gotta get ready to start the show, and we're gonna get going here, everybody. Okay, I just tried to time it on the calculator, so that's a good start. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And here's what may happen. We may answer your question. It's that simple. Joining me, as always, is Miscellaneous, Kristen Elanius, Director of Education at Your Moneyline, and Damian Dunn, very important title, Vice President of Advice at Your Moneyline. Hello, Dame.
Hello, Pete.
I left your title off the show once, and then someone wrote an article about what we talked about on the show, and they said who also works there or something. So I'm just trying to make up for that.
Yeah, well, if that person ever quotes us again, it'll probably be their last day on the job.
My biggest fear is coming true, y'all. Adjustable rate mortgages are slingshotting back into people's faces and slapping them in the nose. I don't. Here's the thing, everybody. I don't generally like adjustable rate mortgages, but what we're going to see over the next 24 months or so is adjustable rate mortgages biting people in the buttocks. And today here on the show, I want to talk about it because while it may not be you who is affected, it's likely you're going to hear someone talking about their adjustable rate mortgage because that's what people always talk about. And I need you to help them. Is that fair, Dame?
Very fair.
So, Kristen, here's the challenge. I don't know if you know about the hot housing market that's been going for a while.
Yes.
And so let's say you were out on the housing market, out looking. You were currently in said house right now, but you were out looking, and it can be an aggressive environment, correct?
Very aggressive.
So you start out with a particular price range. You realize that maybe that price range might be slightly unrealistic because housing prices are going up so aggressively. So, Dame, what does a person do when the housing, the cost of the house goes up, but the payment they can make needs to stay steady? What sort of creative things do they find themselves doing?
I mean, the ideal thing is you look at a different house in a different price range, and voila, your problems are solved. However, that's not what we as Americans typically like to do. We like to try and find a payment that fits our budget. So if we've got our heart set on that specific house, we're going to try and figure out a way to make that happen. Fixed mortgages, we're all familiar with them. You're going to go in, you're going to say, I want this house. They're going to say, here's what we can do for you for 15, 20, 30 years. It's going to be a specific rate, and you can count on that rate to be consistent over that time period. But those can be expensive, Pete. I'm not sure if you were aware of that, but those can be expensive. So find a different product. An adjustable rate mortgage usually has a pretty substantially lower interest rate. The catch is they're only lower for a certain period of time, and then you end up getting hit with an adjusted rate at the end of that time period that's either going to force you to make a higher payment or find alternative financing.
Oddly enough, my email inbox was filled this week with said question from a woman in McCordsville, Indiana. I wrote about it in my Indianapolis Business Journal column this week. Dame, I'm going to give you the numbers. Kristen, you may listen as well.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know. That seemed like unnecessarily rude.
Seemed like I don't know what I'm talking about. That's
no,
good.
you do. $500,000 loan. $500,000 loan. They could not afford the 30-year fixed payment when they purchased the home in October of 2019.
Okay.
By $200 is they couldn't afford it. They needed to be $200 cheaper a month. So they got a 3% or something like that, 3% 3-1 ARM. Then what happened was the interest rate reset to what the market was for the loan. And next month, which is November, no spend November, the payment went to 7.5% interest. So their principal and interest payment went from $2,100 a month to $3,500 a month. And she's panicking. Needless to say, there is a solution to that problem, and it is not fun. And the solution is they must move. There is no way about it, because here's what I know. Their income did not go up at all. And inflation has taken hold in the last 3 years. They have to move. Now, here's the good news. Based on appreciation of the housing market and paying her mortgage for 3 years, they did increase their equity by about $200,000 over that time frame. So that's going to allow them to make a down payment on a new house. But in order to afford the payment, instead of taking out a $500,000 loan, they can only take out a $300,000 loan. So they're going to have to get back into a $500,000 house, where right now they're about a $750,000 house. And that, my friends, is the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to hear in the next 24 months in our country, as people were getting 3-1 ARMs, 5-1 ARMs during historically low interest rates. And Kristen, what disturbs me the most about this is, sure, you could argue during normal interest rate periods that an ARM is a calculated risk that things will go down. During historically low interest rates, to take out an adjustable rate mortgage feels criminal to me. How mad would you be at your mortgage broker if that was the recommendation?
I would not be happy. Did she tell you what the lifetime cap was on that? I mean, can it can it get worse? I mean, they have to move because it's unaffordable, but that is a component of the product usually.
Sure. Yeah. So she did not tell me that. However, to your point, it doesn't matter because she has
Right.
to move. Like there's, I looked at it when the question came in, I wrote about it a few different ways. It's like, okay, well, you could refinance to a fixed rate. Doesn't help. You could
Right.
try to get another arm, which generally is much more difficult and maybe a better calculated risk, but they'd still have a payment they can't afford.
Right.
And my guess is if things were so tight in 2019 for them, and this is where Damien and I were having this discussion yesterday, is that an expert, what was the phrase we used yesterday, Dame? What was the one we, expertise, what was the phrase?
Expertise is knowing patterns.
Expertise is knowing patterns. So this is to say, what is likely is that there's no way they have a full emergency fund. There's just no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. And so that means that this empty-ish emergency fund will be emptied to the tune of $1,400 more per month in perpetuity until they move. And so that is why they must move.
That's tough.
Can I ask a question?
No. Kristen, do you have any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Dame.
You said the arm was originated in 2019?
Correct. Right arm.
I'm wondering
2019.
what happened during that time period when interest rates got really, really low that they didn't think, hey, we could jump into a fixed product probably for around the same interest rate and not have to worry about this going forward.
So,
Oof.
but here's the thing.
I'm not here to pile on, but I think it's a reasonable question to ask.
Because everything's relative. Their goal was to move into that house, and they accomplished that goal. And their mortgage broker suggested the idea. So I doubt their antennae were up to that there was a future problem at hand. And I mean, who knows the conversation between the mortgage broker and the client, but at some point in time, you know, it was insinuated that this was a low risk move.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. And I often forget, we had this conversation yesterday as well, that people who don't do what we do for a living don't see the things that we see behind the decisions that are being made. So if that came off, if my question came off as rude or glib, it certainly wasn't intended to be, but it just kind of stands out.
With 30 seconds left, Kristen, what are the chances that this mortgage broker gassed up the client and was like, oh, your income will go up?
Oh man, I don't want to throw them under the bus, but
You know that happened.
That probably happened.
You'll have income increases. You'll grow into being able to afford this thing that
You'll
you
grow
actually
into it.
can't. Yeah, you'll grow
Yeah.
into it. I've done that. And I did grow into it. It's why I buy extra larges now. Coming up after the break, it was suggested recently that you should be leasing a car in these times that we live in. Kristen will make the case for that. Damon and I will listen, and we'll see what happens. All that's next right here on the Pete the Planner radio program. All right. How about that? You know, the person's like, well, look, you're good at a point in your career. Your income's going to go up and you'll be able to afford it. No, right before the pandemic. Terrible timing.
Mhm.
Why didn't that same mortgage broker call him back and sell him another product when interest rates were low?
Because who needed the business over the last 3 years?
You don't need another commission?
There's only so many hours in the day.
All right. We're not putting Kristen in sales. Note to self.
Note to self.
If we do a department exchange, Kristen doesn't go to business development. Okay. Thank you. There's only so many hours in the day. Okay. Not on the sales team.
For one person, hire more people.
Not on business development team.
I think that would be an appropriate use of an exclamation point, maybe two behind that.
Yeah. Mrs.
Put it
Planner
in my
says you get
review.
3 exclamation points your entire life as a writer. I'm going to use 2 of mine on writing that note to self.
I use 3 per email.
Well, she would not like that. And
Oh,
she was a
no.
high school English teacher. And you would now know what it feels like to be judged by Mrs. Planner.
That's fair.
All right. Dame, your crew carved pumpkins yet?
Nope, no pumpkins.
No pumpkins. Do you get pumpkins?
We've done it a couple times, but
You live in an area that you could just look out your window and there's probably a pumpkin patch of naturally occurring gourds.
we are lousy with gourds around this place.
Yeah. Kristen, what's your relationship with gourds?
I didn't do like any festive fall stuff this year.
Can you give us a TikTok update on, do you have more followers since we talked about this show? Have you done more videos? What's going on?
I haven't posted anything else. I have videos queued, but I'm trying to understand the algorithm a little bit better. And well, I am. And trying to like really get in touch with my young millennial roots here. But I did, after you posted the show, what would that have been, Monday? I did have like right in a row, there must be a group of people who watch the show as soon as it posts, because like right in a row I had like 5 people follow me.
Wow.
I know. So they had to
Almost
open up their phone.
an increase. I mean, that's
Yeah, it's a big deal.
I don't want to be an alarmist, but we have a very creepy audience. If you could glance out your window right now and see if there's someone with binoculars watching you.
There could be.
Look, you're looking.
that's just kind of the neighborhood you live in anyway.
That is the neighborhood I live in. That's true. Yeah.
So you guys know I don't sleep much as a byproduct of, I don't quite know what, but I don't sleep very well. And I've watched 2 movies in the middle of like 2, 3 a.m. this week that I hadn't watched in a while. I want to do a little 2 a.m. movie review for you. The first was possibly the greatest movie of all time, Roadhouse, with Patrick Swayze. Kristen, have you seen Roadhouse?
No, and it's actually really funny that you say that, because I don't watch movies, and I just recently was conned into starting that movie, and the person who conned me into starting that movie fell asleep, and I changed the channel. So
Oh my gosh. It's Dame. Do you like Dalton and what he does as Patrick Swayze, or Patrick Swayze as Dalton in Roadhouse?
Very inspirational.
And then I will also note that I was on a little bit of I got crazy for Swayze, and I watched Point Break a couple days later with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. Another great Swayze movie.
Yeah.
I will not move on to Ghost. Don't ask.
I was going to say Ghost is next, Pete, and you will be crying by 4 a.m.
In 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show, Dame, our friend and coworker, Kristen Elanius, levied the following query to us. Is now the perfect time to lease a car? And I thought, I don't know. I know it's a bad time to buy a used car from Florida, but is that too soon?
No.
Because it's
No.
true, by the way.
it is
Absolutely.
true. Yeah.
Carfax. Get that Carfax, kids. Kristen, what makes you think, and that not as negative as it sounds or skeptical as it sounds, but what makes you think right now is a good time to lease a car?
I want to preface that opinion by saying now might not be a great time to make a move if you can avoid it. But if you're in a position where you do need to make a move from a transportation perspective, I think maybe the combination of rising interest rates, the fact that the used car market can't seem to find its footing, so it seems, I think that combination makes it hard to know the value of what you might have and the value of what you think that you might be coming into.
So, Dame, I think the starting point for understanding her perspective here would be you'd have to be rather cash flow positive, that cash flow is not a current issue or likely to be a future issue for you. You've got plenty of free cash flow, right?
Yeah, and this was, as she said, all prefaced by the fact that you have to make a change. Obviously, if you don't, then don't. Just keep driving and maintaining and repairing the current vehicle you're in. But anytime you're going to make a vehicle change, unless you're going to pay for it with cash, it's just another obligation. You got to make sure that cash flow is going to be there to support that obligation.
I have a dumb question that I probably should know the answer to. But now that I put it that way, if neither of you know the answer to it either, I both feel better and worse for our organization. If there's rising interest rates, which is why you wouldn't necessarily purchase a brand new vehicle, aren't there rising lease rates as well?
Yeah, I would assume the money factor that goes along with it would be increased as well. So that might be a little higher, but of course you're going to have to try and figure out what the residual on that car is going to be in the end of 3 years. And man, I wouldn't want to forecast that for just about anything at this point. Who knows what the vehicle is going to be worth?
Yeah, Kristen,
That
what do you go ahead?
Well, I was going to say that's kind of my point for why I think now might be the time to lease is because the risk of what that vehicle's worth in 3 years is not yours. So if for some reason it would be worth more, your buyout is, I think, almost always fixed. So if you're putting the risk of the value of that vehicle in 3 years onto someone else and not on you when the market feels, at least maybe I'm too much of an outsider, but the market feels very like volatile.
I agree with that. But wouldn't we think the cost of used cars would be lower 3 years from now? I mean, isn't that the argument?
I would
Well,
guess that the cost of used cars is almost certainly going to be lower 3 years from now.
Kristen?
well, I just don't want to. I mean, you never say never, right? Because like in 2018, when I was buying a house, you guys were like, "Hey, don't buy a house," and it wasn't so bad. So like, you just never know what else could happen.
Um, okay, let's go this direction. Dame, what degree of confidence from a percentage standpoint do you have in the idea that used car prices will go down 3 years from now? What
I,
degree of confidence do you have?
do you want me to give reasonings for this confidence, or
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, but I'd like to hear the number first because I'm a numbers guy.
95%?
Okay, before you give your reasoning, Kristen, where's your number?
Less than that, but still pretty high. Like maybe maybe like 60, 70%.
Dame, as you give us your reasons here in Facebook Live, Jordan notes that he leased his truck in 2020. The buyout will be about $10,000 to $15,000 less than the private resale value. Okay, I feel you. I had a similar thing happen to me in the spring and was able to make $9,000 on that. But what we're suggesting or predicting is it's not going to be that way in 3 years. Dame, what makes you feel that way?
I think inventory issues get sorted pretty rapidly. I think we're going to go through a fairly rough economic period over the next 12 to 18 months that are going to settle a lot of things out, and going to be an interesting time with certain segments of auto manufacturing and the industry itself. And I just don't see how used car prices are anywhere close to what they are today. I think there's going to be a reckoning in that part of the market.
Kristen, I have a weird thought, and I actually referenced it earlier that used car prices, especially in the South, are going up because
Mhm.
of the recent hurricane. And I don't want to get too aggressive here, but let's say we have a higher frequency of tropical storms and hurricanes that lead to problems like that. Let's say that
Mhm.
that is an increasing thing. Wouldn't that theoretically keep used car prices high because of supply?
I would think so, yeah.
And then, so Dame, if used car prices are high and the supply chain issues get worked out on new cars, like where does the equilibrium lie? Like what ends up happening? Then no one wants to buy used cars, and then the used car market would come down, right? This is like horrible economics
I
radio.com.
mean, there's a few major variables in there at that point. I mean, anytime I'm forecasting a car purchase based on natural disasters, I think I'm probably in over my head on my expertise.
What?
Uh,
You made vacation plans around a natural disaster.
well, the plans were made way before the natural disaster was actually there, so
No,
it's
I
not
mean, you
my
made the
fault.
decision to go to Gatlinburg from the vacation is the
No, that's
decision I'm
true.
talking about.
That's true. They got some money. The folks in Tennessee got some money from the Dunn family, but that's all right. Uh, I don't know. I mean, yeah, could the supply be hurt? Yeah. Will the demand be there? Probably. There's always going to be a certain demand for cars, but man, I don't know. I trying to look into a crystal ball and trying to lay those factors on top of each other is just
But I guess
speculative.
to Kristen's point, isn't this a neutral move that you're leasing it and then in 3 years you're figuring out what to do next? As long as you don't go over on your miles, it's a sort of a rent move, right, Kristen?
Sure.
Yeah, that was kind of my point is now the time to lease a car so that everything that we're talking about hopefully can kind of sort itself out, and then in 36 months you can enter the market feeling like you have some footing, because again, I think the last 5 minutes of conversation have just gone to show that we all are not really sure where the market's at right now. So I think this is a neutral move when you assess your risk in buying a new or used vehicle.
All right. So I of course went online and Googled lease deals to U.S. News and World Report. Apparently in the Indianapolis area, you can get a 2022 Buick Encore for $199 per month for 24 months with $4,400 due at lease signing. Again, from a cash flow perspective, I mean, are you going to go out of pocket $4,400 on a down payment for a cash flow of $199 a month? The $199 a month, not too bad given what used car prices are.
I would assume that's probably a fairly economical vehicle as well. So
I don't know. It's interesting. Mrs. Planner, we were thinking about getting her a different car early next year. And I will say, we were just going to buy a used car with cash. We have pumped the brakes on that decision. I mean, we're going to reevaluate probably in the summer, because we just think, if a recession's on the way, I'd much rather have $25,000, $30,000 in cash than in a used vehicle,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We've made similar decisions in our family in order to make sure we've got a little bit of cash in the bank.
Speaking of a little bit of cash in the bank, how about a little bit more with No Spend November? What is it? How's it work? Find out next, right here on the Pete the Planner radio experience. I don't know.
I'd like to say I set you up for that, but I didn't do it intentionally.
I want to segue out of anything. Like, as we start to wind down the next segment, can someone get it to a very weird place with like 15 seconds left, 10 seconds left?
Weird place?
Get it to a weird place. So I have to segue out of something weird into the final segment. It's like when you watch the local news and like 38 people died in a train crash, and they're like, puppies, they make us happy, and then they come out of it and you're like, oh, I whiplash.
I'll try. Kristen, if you feel something weird, go ahead.
I am weird.
Boy,
It's just me as a person.
She's volunteered.
This got very, very honest for a moment here. Chris, I don't think you're weird. If I had to choose 10 adjectives to describe you, weird would not be in the top 10. Dane, what are the top 5 adjectives that you would use to describe? Let's not do this. All right.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Let's not do this. We're not doing Mad Libs, personality Mad Libs.
Let's do the top 5 adjectives that her sister would use to describe her. We can't do that either.
We cannot do so. We can't say this on the radio.
Okay, let's do No Spend November.
Yeah.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Kristen, every once in a while, there's a month with a theme. There's Sober October. There's No Shave November. There's a September to remember. But now there is No Spend November. And you brought it up. I'm curious, what in the world is No Spend November? And are people supposed to not spend money for an entire 30 days, even though my birthday is at the end of that month?
Oh no. So No Spend November is this challenge that I saw on social media. And the premise is, as its name implies, you don't want to spend any money in the month of November. The catch is that you can spend money on non-negotiables, like you still have to pay your bills, but that any discretionary spending, which is a little vague, you're supposed to avoid for the entire month.
Oh, so avoid all discretionary spending.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a reasonable thing to do? Like, is that realistic in any way?
No, I think it's terrible. That's why I brought it up.
Isn't that the like equivalent of like the Atkins diet? Like
That was my exact thought. Yes.
because for me, I remember it was 2005, I think, and people were talking about the Atkins diet. I was like, I'll give that a run. Within 3 days, I was ready to commit a crime because I saw a Subway commercial and the bread was steaming in the commercial. And Sarah, pardon me, Mrs. Planner brings this up all the time. I was screaming about sandwich gangsters. Like I was in a dark place in that moment. And so I got to think if you go without spending money on a discretionary basis over the course of a month, it could make for a horrible holiday season as you spend way too much to overcompensate. Doesn't Dame, that's terrifying, right?
I don't, I mean, I appreciate the sentiment behind no spend November. However, I think you're exactly right. If you're going to have all that pent up, if you make it, which who's folks doing fire are already going to make it because they do this for most of their lives.
Doing fire.
But for reasonable human beings, I just I don't see how this fits. I mean, that's like almost saying that you should do entertainment when you're not broke.
I do like experiments like this. I do, but I think you've got to look at the context around them. Like dry January kind of
Sure.
makes sense. It's a healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't, and while I'm not an alcohol dependency expert, I don't necessarily think people break dry January and then February is lushdom. But I do fear culturally we're such at a spot within the last 6 weeks of a calendar year. That's where a vast majority of discretionary spending is often spent. And so, Kristen, I don't know. I know you evaluate and we all evaluate some of these personal finance trends of late, but this one seems like a horrible idea.
Yeah, I think that in general, whether you're talking about like diet or exercise or your personal finance, I think that being so restrictive then naturally pushes you to a place when you're done with that period of restriction to like um overindulge. So if you don't spend anything in November, it's not like the things that you wanted don't still exist. Like my Amazon list is still there just because I didn't buy anything off of it in November. And then I feel like it just encourages you to dive back in, maybe even more, spending more than you would have before.
Todd on Facebook Live, actually YouTube Live, makes an incredible point. Most of America just did a no spend 2020 and look where they are now. Boy, that is so true. I'm curious, Kristen, if someone was going to do an activity like this, what month would you choose? Like in your life, let's start with your life and then we'll go as what's the advice for others. But in your life, if you had to not spend money for a month, what's the best month for you to try that?
In like the winter. So like maybe February or March. I feel like that would be when it would be easiest.
Dame?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
For me, January, because coming off the exuberance and abundance of the holidays, I feel like it's easy to just sort of detox from commerce in January. And plus, if you're not imbibing, then at that point in time, it's cheaper anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is actually an interesting conversation though, because when somebody says, man, I got to get my budget in order and I got to cut back on spending, sometimes the advice I hear is, well, you got to cut out discretionary spending. You just got to get down to the basics and focus on what you got to pay for. And oftentimes people who take that approach, they fail miserably at maintaining a budget because they're not giving themselves any kind of a leeway to, enjoy life a little bit. So I'm not saying that there's not times to really dig into where you're spending your money and make educated, informed decisions off of what you're seeing and what you're doing. But telling somebody to cut out all discretionary spending for a significant period of time, and I would say 30 days is a significant period of time, is really unlikely to end up with a result that you're satisfied with.
I agree. Chris, I don't know about you, your household, but like occasionally we'll do like, don't dine out this week, or I mean, and so we'll do pantry meals, or for us, even it's like, okay, well, we usually get carry out on Saturday night. Let's set this Saturday night. Let's not. And so
Mhm.
I find that to be a lot more practical and a lot more impactful than a strange trend. And I know I'm a boomer by saying don't take personal finance advice off of TikTok. And I also know that I have one of TikTok's hottest stars on our show here right now with dozens of followers. Kristen, I mean, look, I honestly spend no time on those sorts of things. Is there good personal finance advice to be had on TikTok?
There's a lot of good personal finance advice to be had on TikTok, but there's an equal amount of advice that I think is short-sighted and archaic and privileged. And the problem with TikTok is the more you view a type of content, is the problem with any social media really, is the more you view a type of content, the more you're going to see like content. So the problem is you might see a video that seems like a good idea, like this no spend November, or like this premise of like, if you're broke, you don't deserve to have fun. And it's like, oh man, like, could that be true? And then you're going to see more of it based on the way the algorithm works. So it's a tough space to be in if you're someone who feels like you could use some guidance and you're not sure where to get it.
Dame, if someone wants to do something healthy for their financial life in November and they don't want to do no spend November and they don't even want to do no shave November, what do you think is a good 1 week activity to pay attention to your finances? Like, how would you tell someone to do that?
Change up how you spend money. If you use a credit card primarily, go to a debit card for a week and see what difference that
Oh,
makes
that's
in your
interesting.
decision-making process. I think that would make you pause frequently on whether or not you are spending money in a reasonable way.
That's really good advice, because even if you go cash, right? If you're like, okay, well, I usually use debit card, I'm going to withdraw $100 for the week, and here we go.
Yeah. Yep.
Kristen, we should keep him around.
Eh.
All right. So the no spend November gets 3 thumbs down from our crew here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't do that, everybody. It's a horrible idea. There's much better ways to shift your personal finances, including, holiday savings club. Like, just, divide your total holiday budget by 3 or 4, and then the months leading up to the holidays, withdraw that money and set it aside in equal parts so that you're not stretching your cash flow. I think unusual cash flow is what gets so many people into trouble. So, Dame, here, we've got 20 seconds left in the break. Anything you want to add till the break?
All I know is I'm still thinking about Kristen trying to come for my job now.
Speaking of coming for Kristen's job and Dame having his job come for, I don't know what that means. Biggest waste of money of the week is on the horizon here on the Pete the Planner Show, as well as, that's right, current events. All that's next. I'm Pete the Planner. Was that your attempt to set me up?
Well, I was going to say that I was going to have to break into my little barrel of booze over here and, medicate myself. But
Geez, I got dark.
Yeah, it was going to be weird.
Mrs. Planner and I typically will do dry January, and our average is about 21 days, and it always ends the same way. It ends in like this rationalized faux logic where we're just like, what does this even matter? I think we proved the point. And it's me, by the way, doing that.
I thought you were going to say it always ends the same way, with a bottle of cake bread. But
no, it does end with a bottle of wine. I'll be making a nice meal, and I'll be like, what are we even doing? We're adults. Like, it's just so it's so dumb.
We have free will. We can do what we want.
I appreciate that she participates in that freeing of shackles. It justifies everything.
It's boys' weekend. This weekend, Ted and I are going to Nashville, and so we had some wine last night with dinner. And Mrs. Planner's like, well, you're going to be gone, so it's not like I'm going to drink anything while you're gone. And I'm like, am I that bad of an influence that if I'm here, you have to have a beverage to tolerate me? And when I'm not here, you're like, oh, healthy living.
Yeah. Her drinking buddy's going.
Oh, man. Anyway, let's do Boam. I think I got a good one this week. it's one of those that like we could potentially talk about for a long time. So I got to be careful because I don't want to blow through Dame's. You know, he shines in the fourth segment.
I've got some great news.
Oh boy.
Oh really? Oh, Brian Pinkins makes it in. Hey, Brian, I don't want to say anything, but you're 40 minutes late. What are you doing? Come on, man. And then David mocks me appropriately. Holiday Savings Club,
Nice.
reborn in 1944. No, but I am 44 years old. For one more month.
For a few weeks more.
Dame's birthday was last week, everybody.
Indeed.
Did you tell him?
Who?
Pete.
That was my birthday?
No.
No, I knew it was his birthday, Kristen.
No, about your recent discovery about the age group of which you're now a part of.
According to Google, middle age officially starts at 45.
I've been middle-aged for 15 years.
That was my
45.
argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a Colt 45 40-ounce malt liquor beverage?
I didn't. I passed.
How much of a headache would you have if you drank a Colt 45 40-ounce bottle of liquor?
I would have called in sick the next day.
I'm actually feeling pretty gross by how much I've talked about booze on the show today. I feel like people are going to be like, hey, is he okay? Like I'm going to get, are you okay emails?
Are you?
See? All right. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week right here on the Pete the Planner show is the Preppy 3-day emergency Prepster backpack. Being prepared in emergency doesn't mean you'll have to rough it. Preppy's 3-day emergency Prepster backpack packs together life-saving essentials with curated creature comforts. Alongside food and water supplies, a hand crank combination NOAA radio, LED flashlight, and USB battery pack, you'll find Malin & Goats hygiene products, Marvis toothpaste, tea, and a chocolate bar. The entire kit comes in a metal framed bag made in Los Angeles from water-resistant canvas and natural leather. I'm going to give you guys, and by guys, I mean guy and lady guy. I will give you some of the other items that are in this.
Please.
Floating emergency whistle, playing cards, glow stick, BYOS stainless steel hip flask, Preppy candles, canvas PVC dot work gloves, Preppy Mylar space blanket, hand warmers, multi-tool with pliers, sharpened blades, can opener, and a wood saw, Kuzmi tea, Mast Brothers chocolate bar, vitamin B5 moisturizer, shampoo, and conditioner. Okay, so there's just some of the items in this Prepster backpack. How much do you think this costs?
This company had a table at Coachella, didn't they?
I don't know. We'll have to ask former producer Frank on the show. She would know.
Whatever it is, it's too much, but let's go with $450.
All right. What do you got, Kristen?
300.
First off, before we get too much further, I want to say I was first looking into this and I was like, oh man, this is a joke. And I was like, this isn't too bad. Like I mean, I would have one of these.
It's not even waterproof.
It's $395. So you guys really got close, the both of you.
Yeah.
Dane, what's in the news this week?
The Philadelphia Phillies are in the World Series. Hold on to your wallets. When Philadelphia baseball teams do well in a pattern that is held for a century, financial markets tend to strike out. It started with the old Philadelphia Athletics before they left town. Their 1929 championship preceded the stock crash and Great Depression. In 1980, the Phillies won their first World Series, and a recession raged right through 1983. And then when the team got going again in 2008, well, there was a small financial crisis. You may remember that. So the Phillies will be back on the big stage tonight, Friday, in the World Series against the proven cheaters, the Houston Astros, in a ballpark that was once named Enron Field. How does this end well?
So I was half listening, Dame. So if the Phillies win, that's bad, or is it the fact that they're in the series altogether that it's bad?
If they win, it's bad.
Uh-oh.
Who's favored?
The Astros should be, but the Phillies have made a really impressive run. They got in on a wild card spot and have played really, really good baseball.
Kristen, did you ever see there was like a football thing, like based on who won the Super Bowl, it would predict, I think, who won the election or something like that, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and there's a name for that. I don't know if it's a fallacy. There's a specific name for it in like the investment world too, that there is a correlation between Super Bowl winners and like the stock market and stuff.
Dame, do you buy this with the Phillies? Like, are we battening down the hatches because the Phillies are in the World Series?
No, I will take the Phillies because I refuse to root for the Astros, even if that means my stock portfolio goes down another 20%.
What else is in the news? Oh, ooh. Geez, so selfless, Dame. So selfless.
I have ethics, and I refuse to root for a franchise that got caught cheating and wasn't punished for it.
What else is in the news, sir?
A rite of passage for those 50 and older, an AARP membership is also drawing younger folks determined to get discounts to cope with inflation. Full AARP membership, which includes discounts on items such as prescription eyewear and services such as food delivery, is available to people 50 and older for $12 a year with automatic renewal. Anyone 13 and older can join online and receive many of the same deals. It's never too early to sign up, the website says. An AARP spokesperson said that the organization is seeing a definite uptick in younger members, but won't share specific member demographic data. AARP said it has nearly 38 million members. Now, Pete, I got nervous when I read the next part of this piece. Chris Haymeyer started going gray in his 30s, so getting an AARP card felt appropriate, he said. Mr. Haymeyer, 45, and a member for about 2 years, sees his AARP card as a badge of honor. The savings have come at somewhat of a social cost, however. When he told his wife, Jessie, he had joined AARP, she rolled her eyes. So upon renewing his membership recently, he got her a special gift. Without her knowing, I signed up my sweet 37-year-old wife.
It seems like a bad move.
When the card arrived in the mail, Mrs. Haymeyer, what do we think her reaction was?
Divorced him?
That would have been one of my biggest fears. No, she laughed, but refuses to carry the card with her.
Can I note something here that I get wanting to grab in a younger audience, but isn't there something inherently creepy about welcoming 13-year-olds to the AARP? Like, why that age? Why not do 18? Why commingle the olds with middle schoolers? Like, I don't get it.
Everybody loves a good discount, Pete.
I don't know if Ollie came to me and was like, Dad, with my ref money, I want to join the AARP, and that way I have a community with people online. That's a hard no.
Are you telling me you have a harder time letting her join AARP than you do setting up a TikTok account?
Ooh.
It's monitored and it's private. And,
do you think she's going to go to group meetings for AARP?
She likes to talk, and they'll think she's charming. And then, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's true.
What else is in the news, sir?
This is where we're at today. A California cannabis company is being sued by 2 local consumers for allegedly lying about the potency of its products. Jasper and Blake of Fresno filed a lawsuit in state court last week accusing Dreamfields brands of false advertising, intentional misrepresentation, and unjust enrichment, among other charges.
What do they sell?
Pot.
Oh, I missed that. I that buried the lead there.
No, actually, it was in the first 3 words. A California cannabis company is being sued.
So it's not strong enough marijuana.
Yeah, they advertise that it has a THC content of 46%, and it was found to contain 23 and 27%.
Ooh.
Can I give a hot take?
Yes.
And I can't substantiate any of this at all. Andy asked if I had a Miguel today. No, I didn't, but I have had a tremendous amount of caffeine. Yesterday, I had even more. My heart is going to explode. Here is my hot take. What if CBD is all placebo? What if CBD does nothing despite the fact that it's in everything? What do you think? Is it that dumb of a take that you guys both had the same reaction?
I mean, does it really matter? I mean,
Yeah.
if it helps people get over whatever they have that's ailing them, if there's actually anything active in it or not, if it works, it works.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm Googling right now CBD versus placebo, and we'll see what happens. All right. This breaking news. Here we go. Let's see what it says. One study, the bottom line, CBD and your expectations about whether it will help can make pain feel less bothersome, but it doesn't appear to reduce pain intensity. I just literally read a sentence off the internet from WebMD. So am I
That's
right?
great. This is great. No, you're right if you want to be right.
Oh boy. I don't know. I'm going to look into this. I'm going to report back to everybody.
Mhm.
Hey, everybody, credit card balances are back to where they were pre-pandemic. Just thought you'd want to know.
Excellent.
Thanks for the good news. Kristen, best of luck with the big news this weekend. Dame, I will talk to you next week as well. Everyone else, sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner. This is the Pete the Planner Show.
I had to read that story because I just thought it was amazing that the two guys suing the weed company were named Jasper and Blake.
Oh yeah. Well,
Just
I'm
You
struggling to
weren't
listen
paying
to it.
attention.
I
Yeah,
know.
the caffeine has affected your hearing.
It has. Can we all send a shout out to the Aqua family for the birth
Yeah.
Yes.
of their
Did
little?
you see
We'll see what. Oh, they're just watching today?
Slack? Yeah.
So our colleague and friend Greg, he and his wife had a child this week. Ella Jane, beautiful name. Welcome to this world, Ella, and I hope you find yourself employed soon. I sent my normal joke that I send new parents. I texted him this week. I was like, "Can she read yet?" And he was like, no." And it's like, wonder if that's A, charming or funny that I do that, and B, why do people tolerate my friendship?
We'll refrain from answering that.
Please, I know. I think it's a next on the CBD versus placebo. Maybe I've never used a CBD product. I don't know.
My question though is, obviously there would be people who are upset, but does it matter if it's a placebo? If it does
That's
what
an
you
interesting question.
like,
Other than the cost associated
Sure.
with
right?
So again, I'm grabbing snippets off of Google. This is from Harvard.
The best way to make decisions.
Harvard.edu. CBD has been touted for a wide variety of health issues, but the strongest scientific evidence is for its effectiveness in treating some of the cruelest childhood epilepsy syndromes, such as something, which typically don't respond to anti-seizure medication. So I just read a sentence with no context. Maybe we should end the show. Not forever, just for the week. I think I'm right. I think that's where this is going.
Sure. Yeah. if you want to be
I feel like since the conversation has halted, I think I should move on.
I mean, there are people that will die on this hill that says CBD is a miracle compound or whatever it would technically scientifically be called, but
they'd be on the hill without it too, because it's placebo. Actually, here's the thing: I don't actually care. That's the thing. It's just a weird take that I don't care about, and it's not even judgmental. I just don't care.
Yeah, go and be free and take your drops of CBD oil. I don't care. That's great.
go Lil Spence.
Return of Lil Spence 49. Cheers, guys. Hope all is well. Debt free and working on my rap side hustle. Stay getting money. I appreciate that. Okay, Dane, big plans this weekend? You doing anything good?
I'm actually going to be in your neck of the woods for a one-day swim meet.
Nice. Good luck.
Well, not Nashville, the Indy part. Yeah.
Hope your Speedo still fits after all of the birthday treats.
Probably.
And Kristen, we all know you're a big weekend, so good luck with that. Let us know. Post pictures of the big event, and we'll talk about it next week. All right, everybody, stay getting money.